got money to spend in here.
I don't think we have anything for you. Please leave.
Won't you knock?
Vivian, I have a business proposition for you.
Does it look okay?
Something's missing. I am Mr. Hollister, the manager. May I help you? Edward Lewis. Ah, yes, sir.
I can't remember it.
In a surprising turn of events, Julia Roberts, the leading lady of the beloved 1990 film Pretty Woman, is lifting the curtain on the long-standing rumors and controversies surrounding the movie. Well, Julia addresses the whispers about Richard Gere's character, shedding light on the perceived creepiness and the film's portrayal of women as objects.
If a girl is dressed in a provocative way, they have a green light to behave any way they want.
Join us as we unravel the untold stories behind Pretty Woman and explore a side that has remained hidden for years. Pretty Woman remains one of the most enduring classic romantic comedy films ever made. This cinematic masterpiece has captured the hearts and admiration of hundreds of thousands of viewers, playing a pivotal role in propelling the careers of its cast members, notably Richard Gere and Julia Roberts. Beyond its impressive ensemble, Pretty Woman weaves a tale of unlikely love and redemption that resonates with audiences, inspiring a belief in finding love regardless of one's past. Released in 1990 and directed by Gary Marshall, Pretty Woman tells the story of Vivian Ward, played by Julia Roberts, an escort navigating a challenging life. Hired by the affluent businessman Edward Lewis, portrayed by Richard Gere, for a weekend of companionship, the two characters bridge the gap between their disparate worlds, discovering common ground and kindling unexpected feelings.
Baby, I'm gonna treat you so nice, you're never gonna wanna let me go.
You might not know, but Julia Roberts almost missed out on the iconic role of Vivian Ward, as the producers initially considered Molly Ringwald for the part. However, Julia's compelling performance and chemistry with Richard Gere ultimately secured her place as the leading lady. Talking about Richard's character, the movie portrayed Roberts' character as a S object in rotation, subjected to verbal A from Jason Alexander's character, who hurls every offensive term at her. In a critical scene, Jason Alexander's character, Phillip Stuckey, is left alone with Vivian and attempts to SA her, resorting to physical V by slapping her forcefully, causing her to fall to the floor. Shockingly, he faces minimal consequences, merely receiving a bloody nose. Richard Gere's character is lauded as the hero or Prince Charming, titles that, according to the writer, don't suit his character, suggesting he should have been referred to simply as the client. The critique extends to the film glamorizing prostitution, perpetuating the objectification of women, and reinforcing patriarchal norms, which the writer deems dangerously problematic. The mistreatment of Roberts' character serves as a prime example of the film's problematic nature, with the writer emphasizing that the nights at the Beverly Hills Hotel involved both attempted SA and physical A, a crucial aspect that should not be overlooked. And now, Julia Roberts also addressed a long-standing rumor about her time on the set of Pretty Woman during Thursday's episode of Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen.
Is it true that sometimes Gary Marshall would tickle your feet off camera during Pretty Woman to get you to laugh hysterically during a scene?
That's not true.
That's not true, Roberts said when asked if director Gary Marshall would tickle her feet off camera to make her laugh during a scene. She jokingly noted that the fans who posed the question looked mildly disappointed at her response. But Gary would do things like this. He would say, "Action, be funny," and then I'm just supposed to be laughing or something. I guess you have to know all these people's names to appreciate this. But he called me the schlumpy girl, and he would say, "If the schlumpy girl married Raul Julia, she'd be Julia Julia," she recalled, mimicking the late filmmaker's voice. And then our director of photography was a man called Chuck Minsky, and Gary goes, "If Chuck married Nastasia Kinski, she'd be Nastasia Kinski-Minsky," Roberts went on. Moreover, 90s movie Pretty Woman is one of Julia Roberts' most famous films, but it was originally meant to tell a very different story.
The script changed a lot from the time that I first read it and agreed to do it. It changed drastically.
During her appearance on The Graham Norton Show, alongside Timothée Chalamet, Tom Hanks, and Cher, Julia was questioned by Graham about the movie. She revealed that the original plan was for it to be a much darker film titled $3,000, referring to the price for Vivian to spend the night with Edward. Vivian was a D addict, and the movie ended with him leaving her in a side street, throwing the money at her, and driving away. I got that part in that movie and felt really proud, but when the production company folded and the film disappeared, I was crushed. But then Disney picked it up, which seemed so unlikely, and made it funny. Reflecting on her initial involvement, Julia expressed pride in securing the role, but her disappointment grew when the production company folded and the film seemed to vanish. However, Disney later picked it up, an unexpected turn of events that transformed the film into a comedy. Julia also credited luck for securing the role in Pretty Woman, revealing that nearly a dozen other actresses had declined the opportunity. It really is not a measure of talent, particularly in the beginning. It's a measure of good fortune, and being able to have your wits about you enough to make something out of that good fortune, she expressed. Julia was originally from Georgia and had a slight Southern accent in her early acting days. Concerned that her accent might surface during the filming of Pretty Woman, the producers took a preemptive measure. They added a line to the script where Vivian explains that she grew up in Georgia, aligning with Robert's real background. This strategic addition allowed any inadvertent Southern drawls to be perceived as consistent with the character. Now, Julia's recent remarks about the initial concept for $3,000 echo her comments from 2019 when she discussed the original idea for Pretty Woman during a chat with Patricia Arquette for Variety's Actors on Actors series. Recalling the previous script, she admitted feeling out of place in a movie with that kind of narrative. She humorously questioned Disney's involvement, wondering if they would animate it, given the unexpected transition to a Disney film. The Mona Lisa Smile star discussed her role in the movie with Graham, stating, "I was sent the book by the director who told me I would love it and to read it as fast as I can, but I just couldn't because it was scaring me, and as soon as it got dark, I had to get away from it. The film is spooky and frightening, but so good." Addressing the participation of Barack and Michelle Obama in the film, Julia remarked, "They are brilliant people and great human beings who have made the world a better place. So when they said they were interested in collaborating on the film through their production company, I was very excited." Julia Roberts was 21 at the time of filming and hadn't yet obtained her driver's license. However, this didn't hinder her character Vivian from taking the wheel of Edward's Lotus Esprit and zooming around Los Angeles. Vivian's excitement in these moments was entirely authentic. Indeed, Roberts' enthusiasm was so real during these scenes that she often drove at such high speeds that the camera crews had difficulty keeping up with her. Not surprisingly, Roberts has mentioned that these were among her favorite scenes to shoot. There's a notable amount of improvisation and ad-libbing in Pretty Woman, and one memorable instance is the scene where Vivian loudly blows her nose into a handkerchief. Initially, the stern hotel manager is interrogating her about her presence at his hotel, but when Vivian becomes distressed, he softens and offers her his handkerchief. In a spontaneous move, she amusingly soils the handkerchief. Surprisingly, this gag wasn't part of the script. It was a spontaneous addition by Julia Roberts during filming. Initially unsure about its comedic value, Roberts worried about its inclusion in the final film. However, the impromptu moment brought some much-needed humor to the scene, ultimately enhancing the overall tension. The iconic scene in Pretty Woman where Edward playfully snaps the jewelry box shut as Vivian reaches for the gorgeous necklace wasn't originally scripted. After a few takes of Richard Gere simply presenting Julia Roberts with the necklace, director Gary Marshall found it lacking excitement. He took Gere aside and suggested the playful move of snapping the box shut when Roberts reached for the necklace. Roberts' genuine reaction in the film adds to the charm of this memorable moment, which later became a widely recognized and parodied scene. In Pretty Woman, star Richard Gere contributed to the soundtrack by playing the piano in a scene where Edward showcases his musical talent. The song he plays is a tune he personally composed. It's noteworthy that Gere's musical contribution to the film adds a personal touch to the character, suggesting that the actor's musical ability seamlessly integrated into the scene, possibly playing the song out of muscle memory or genuine creative inspiration. In the scene where Edward catches Stuckey attempting to a Vivian, Gere broke a crown on one of his molars. His reaction, subtly inspecting the damage by moving his tongue around in his mouth, was an unscripted moment captured on film. This incident, however, wasn't the first time Gere continued filming despite an injury. In 2006, while working on The Hunting Party, he broke a rib on set. Despite the pain, Gere promptly returned to the cast to complete the film, showcasing his dedication to his craft even in challenging situations. On the other hand, Richard Gere was initially hesitant to take on the role of Edward, considering it shallow and not aligned with his preferences. However, Julia Roberts played a pivotal role in convincing him to join the project, leading to the dynamic on-screen pairing that became a hallmark of the film.
It was just a charming piece, you know, that was very seductive, warm, kind of general entertainment.
Gere had declined the role multiple times, as revealed during the Today Show's reunion interview with co-stars and director Gary Marshall. Roberts also recounted losing the job when the film transitioned to Disney, and Marshall was brought in as the director. However, Marshall played a pivotal role in bringing Roberts and Gere together, as recounted by Roberts. Gary brought me there and he said, "Richard, Julia, Julia, Richard. I'll see yous later." And he walked out.
I just said, you have to do this movie. If you don't do this movie and it falls apart and I lose this job, it'll just be terrible. And I kind of pleaded with him in a very real way.
Contrastingly, Gere doesn't recall Marshall's involvement in their introduction, stating, "I was so mesmerized that I don't remember Gary. I just remember the girl."
She took a piece of paper from my desk and she wrote on it, "Please say yes." Oh. She turned it around and I looked at it and I went, "Yes."
To be honest, I didn't know if I was doing this movie yet. She's across the desk. We're getting to know each other. We're flirty, nice, Gere explained. And Marshall calls up and it's kind of like, "How's it going?" And I'm going, yeah. And she takes a piece of paper, a Post-it, Roberts interjected. She turns it around and she pushes it to me. It said, "Please say yes." It was so sweet. And I was like miming talking on the phone. I just said yes. "We made a pact a long time ago when we did it," Marshall revealed. "We said we're not doing Pretty Woman 2 unless we all do it together." Teasingly, Roberts announced, "We're happy to announce," and together with Marshall, they concluded, "We didn't do it." Despite its controversial subject matter at the outset, Pretty Woman went on to become a commercial and economic success. Made on a budget of approximately $14 million, the film grossed $463 million worldwide, making it the fourth highest-grossing film at the time of its release. Its enduring legacy is further reflected in its continued status as one of the top 3 highest-grossing romantic comedies in American history. However, Julia Roberts remarked in an interview with The Guardian that the iconic film that catapulted her to superstardom, the 1990 romantic comedy Pretty Woman, wouldn't fare well in the #Me Too era nearly 30 years later. "A lot has changed in the industry," she noted. "I don't really think you could make that movie now, right? So many things you could poke a hole in." Continuing, she stated, "But I don't think it takes away from people being able to enjoy it. Like many films, Pretty Woman has its share of continuity errors. One notable mistake occurs in a breakfast scene, where Vivian's pastry magically transforms into a pancake between shots. While minor, such errors can become noticeable upon closer inspection. Contrary to its glamorous appearance, Julia Roberts revealed that the bathtub scene had its challenges. The soap used for bubbles had an unintended effect on her hair, causing a significant color fade. The prolonged time spent in the water resulted in the detergent stripping all the red dye from her hair. By the end of the day, the detergent had taken off all of my hair color," she shared with The Hollywood Reporter. "We had emergency hair color at 10 o'clock at night because of the bathtub." During the filming of the iconic scene where Vivian is luxuriating in a bubble bath, singing along to her Walkman, the film crew orchestrated an elaborate prank on Julia Roberts.
"I just want your extra time and your kiss."
In the scene, Vivian submerges herself underwater and resurfaces to accept Edward's proposal to stay with him for a week. In a particular take, after Roberts had submerged herself, the entire crew, along with Richard Gere, made a swift exit from the room, leaving her alone underwater. When she surfaced, expecting the crew to be present, she was met with an empty set. The prank added a humorous twist to the behind-the-scenes moments of filming Pretty Woman. As a relative newcomer to the industry, Julia was so nervous about filming the S scene that she broke out in hives. Reflecting on the experience, she admitted, "I had never done this kind of stuff before, and I was really nervous. I'd get hives. They'd say, 'Kiss,' and I'd get a hive." Despite the widespread admiration for Pretty Woman among audiences, the film's leading man, Richard Gere, doesn't share the same sentiment. In an interview with Australian magazine Woman's Day, Gere candidly expressed his dislike for the beloved romantic comedy, deeming it his least favorite thing. He went on to criticize the movie, stating, "People ask me about that movie, but I've forgotten it. That was a silly romantic comedy." Gere even drew a connection between the film and the financial crisis, suggesting that Pretty Woman inaccurately portrayed certain individuals as dashing, a depiction he found to be misguided. He added, "Pretty Woman made those guys seem dashing, which was so wrong. Thankfully today, we are all more skeptical of those guys." In a candid interview, Richard Gere seemed to downplay his past relationships with celebrities such as Kim Basinger, Uma Thurman, and Priscilla Presley, suggesting that in the 1980s, relationships were primarily centered around status. However, Gere emphasized that he has found true love with Carrie Lowell, his partner and the mother of their son, Homer James. Gere expressed the importance of genuine love over material possessions, stating, "She has given me a very clear conscience of what is right and wrong. I would rather be loved than have money and all that other stuff. I know now that I would rather have something that is true, something that is based on real love." Reflecting on his past, Richard Gere looks wistful as he reflects on the Richard Gere of the 70s, who enjoyed one of his first successes playing Danny Zuko in the London production of Grease. "It was a joyous time, a good time to be young. It was all fresh, everything was new. I was a 23-year-old kid and I was starring in a big hit in the West End. I remember I borrowed a motorcycle from the Triumph factory and I tootled around London on it. It was a great wide-open time when everything was possible." But then he has had cause to be nostalgic of late, having reached the point in a movie star's career when people start giving them tributes, career retrospectives, and lifetime achievement awards. "I see these compilations, which inevitably they do, and some of them are very good," he tells the BBC News website. "I don't think about it much, but I'm reminded that, yeah, there are a lot of good films in there." Days of Heaven, American Gigolo, and An Officer and a Gentleman are a few of the credits that spring readily to mind, along with the inevitable Pretty Woman and 2002 Oscar winner Chicago. Gere reunited with his co-stars from the latter movie at this year's Academy Awards, to which the actor was preparing to fly at the time of our interview. "To be honest with you, I'd rather be going home," he said. "But I have a lot of friends out there, so I'm happy to do it." Had things panned out differently, however, Gere might have been at the Hollywood ceremony as a nominee as well as a presenter. Earlier this year, the Philadelphia native was shortlisted for a Golden Globe Award for his role in Arbitrage, a New York-based drama set in the risky world of high finance. Yet that nomination did not lead to an Oscar consideration, something Gere accepts with good grace and equanimity. "It would have been nice for the film," he shrugs. "It's a good way for a small film to be seen by a lot more people. And I wish that Nick had been more recognized for his screenplay. It was that good of a screenplay as it should have been." The Nick to which Gere refers is one Nicholas Jarecki, a writer-director who drew on the financial crises that rocked the global business community in 2009 while writing the film. Gere did his own research in preparation for his role, meeting some of the brokers and traders who form part of the world to which his character, hedge fund magnate Robert Miller, belongs. "There was a guy on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. I would guess that he was 80 years old," he recalls. "He was filled with energy, vibrating with it. I said, 'How long have you done this?' He said since he was 17. He couldn't imagine being anywhere else. The common denominator with all these guys is they are gamblers. It's the bartering, the deal-making. They're cowboys. What happened with the crisis is we demonized these guys. Before they were heroes, we admired them, until everything fell apart." Gere's character Miller has his own problems to deal with in Arbitrage, a mistress he's trying to keep secret from his wife, a hole in his company's balance sheet he's trying to hide from his investors, and a potential buyout that looks on the verge of collapsing. The film's title refers to the simultaneous purchase and sale of the same securities or commodities in different markets, in order to profit from unequal prices. "On the simplest level, it means you buy cheap and you sell dear," explains Gere, who admits his character might not seem sympathetic given the current financial climate. "I hate to admit it, but it might be a special thing that I can do, play really difficult to love people." Arbitrage represents a relatively rare big screen outing for Gere, whose last vehicle as a leading man, 2011 spy thriller The Double, was not shown in UK cinemas. Some may wish the same could be said for movie 43, a critically reviled S-comedy released earlier this year, in which he made a fleeting cameo appearance. "If there were more scripts I wanted to do with directors I wanted to work with, I'd be working more," he reveals. "I wasn't particularly looking for Arbitrage, and I expect the next thing I do will be another script that comes out of left field." Could that be another film with Julia Roberts, his co-star in 1990 crowd-pleaser Pretty Woman and 1999 romance Runaway Bride? "I can see it happening," he says. But it's foolish for us to think the kind of magic factor that was in Pretty Woman can be recreated somehow, so it's probably best that we do something totally different. The film's impact on the careers of its cast and crew is evident, with Julia Roberts receiving accolades, including a Golden Globe, for her role as Vivian. Richard Gere's reputation was further burnished, contributing to the film's success. Despite any critiques or controversies, fans' love for Pretty Woman remains as strong as ever, just as when the movie first premiered in theaters in the 90s. One of them commented, "Julia's and Richard's chemistry hasn't been surpassed after all these years. Just seeing them together on the screen makes you smile automatically, and the smile remains on your face throughout the movie. Pretty Woman should be kept as the best romantic comedy ever in the Hall of Fame." Another added, "I wanted to be Julia Roberts in the role of Vivian, to Richard Gere's Edward. The two made history, and they made the movie a success. I never noticed any errors in the movie Pretty Woman. Only magic." All in all, Pretty Woman stands as a testament to the enduring appeal of classic romantic comedies. Its unique blend of romance, humor, and memorable moments has solidified its place in cinematic history, continuing to captivate audiences decades after its release. Stay tuned for more intriguing insights into the world of Hollywood. That's it for today, folks. Until next time, goodbye.